Let me ask you, have you ever had a game that you weren't sure how much you'd enjoy but end up loving? I've got a few of those. Fire Emblem, Pikmin, the entire Metal Gear Solid series, and I could go on and on. I'm sure you could tell that F-Zero X, our next game in the series, would also be on that list. I remember the day I bought it like it was yesterday. I was in a game store that I frequent and I saw it amongst the N64 games the guy was selling. Considering I liked the first F-Zero and the game was only $30, I figured I'd give it a shot. Now, even though I did like the first F-Zero, I still wasn't totally sure how much I'd enjoy the game. I mean, I don't play any racing games that aren't Mario Kart, so it was kind of a gamble. As soon as I booted up the game though, I knew I made the right decision. I'm sure a lot of 90s kids felt the same way as me. I know I'm kind of spoiling the video already, but I just can't help myself. I love this game. This video won't so much be a review, but more an essay on why I love this game so much, and honestly, I'm done waiting. I want to get started talking about it, so let's just get going now. F-Zero X was released on October 27th, 1998 here in North America for the Nintendo 64. The N64 was already a couple of years into its life cycle and was starting to hit what I think was its peak. Games like Mario 64, GoldenEye, Mario Kart 64, and Banjo-Kazooie were already getting immense praise from audiences. Plus, only a month later, Ocarina of Time would be released, and we all know how amazing that game is and what impact it had on the industry. Even if Nintendo had no chance of catching Sony and its PlayStation 1 in the console wars at this point, they, alongside third-party developer Rare, were still cooking up some absolute classics. F-Zero X is no exception, with it being rated quite highly in the N64 library. This game was actually being developed in tandem with another F-Zero game titled Zero Racers. This was supposed to be a different game in the series for the ill-fated Virtual Boy, a console that touted having virtual reality, massive air quotes over that, when in actual reality, it was just a shitty pair of goggles with red and black graphics that gave you headaches. The tale of the Virtual Boy is one for another day, but all you really need to know is that it didn't last long and many games in development for it were cancelled, the Zero Racers included. From what I can tell, this game was designed with the original F-Zero more in mind, but the main difference would be the vehicles are more akin to spaceships than the levitating cars we used to see. This would mean that you can not only move left to right, but you also would be able to change your altitude. Imagine if Star Fox was a racing game, it would kind of be like that. Thankfully, that was the game that got cancelled and we were able to get F-Zero X instead. I still would kind of like to see how that concept worked out though. Maybe this is how F-Zero actually comes back nowadays. Jesus, Lord knows they need any kind of ideas at this point. Once again, F-Zero is used as a way to push the limitations of the system it's featured on. This time, instead of impressive graphics, we have a sense of speed that is unparalleled in any other racing game I've played on the N64. Everything moves at a crisp 60 frames per second here, something that was pretty much never seen at that time. Doubly so on the N64 due to so many of those games lagging like crazy. You want an example? Donkey Kong 64 was programmed with the lag in mind. That's how bad it could get sometimes. Because of the smooth frame rate, this game feels even faster than before. Seriously, if you thought the first game was fast, this game will make you feel like you're traveling at ludicrous speed. It really is exhilarating driving this fast in this game. Not only are you going faster than before, you'll be racing against a lot more competitors as well, and I don't mean like those random dickheads from the first game, I mean real-life racers. We went from 4 racers in the first game to 30 original characters for each race. The fact the game runs this good with 30 racers on screen at the same time is really impressive. There were some compromises though to make this even possible. Each vehicle doesn't really have a lot of polygons to them, leading them to look pretty basic. There aren't any characters to get full models either, they're all depicted in sprite form. Now the portraits of the characters in the select screen, they look fine, but once you get to the end of each cup and you see these really small ones, they're almost impossible to see, they're just kind of whatever. The backgrounds aren't too detailed either. You'll get the occasional like tall building or random statue in the background, okay, but that's really about it. Granted, you won't really notice these either since you'll be paying more attention to not crashing, but the few times you notice the lack of big things in the background, yeah, you can kind of see what I mean. I wouldn't say the game looks bad or anything, it's just not very detailed or interesting, but again, it makes sense. They had to make this game run at 60 FPS somehow. I think to make up for the somewhat lackluster visuals, the development team decided to create what might be the greatest racing game soundtrack of all time. I'm dead serious, this game's soundtrack is so unbelievably amazing. To go along with wicked fast gameplay, you get to listen to tracks that absolutely rock the fuck out. As someone who loves rock songs for video games for playing stuff like Doom, this was love at first listen for me. From the opening riff at the start of the game to the iconic renditions of Mute City and Big Blue to new tracks like Devil's Call to Your Heart, this game will keep your adrenaline pumping as you fly through these courses. Even the menu select screen goes hard. The menu select screen has better music than a lot of other games, just think about that. I know I'm glazing it a ton, but I can't stress how great hard rocking works with a game like F-Zero. It's a pairing as perfect as peanut butter and jelly, cookies and milk, and Hideo Kojima in 30-minute cutscenes. That being said, if you aren't a rock fan, you won't be getting anything else other than that. It's pretty much only one genre all the way through. I mean, in my opinion, I think the songs are so good it doesn't matter, but I could understand why somebody would feel some type of way with the lack of variety. Moral of the story though, this soundtrack is phenomenal. The gameplay has gone through quite a few changes in this iteration. I mentioned it before, but there are now 30 total racers for each race. You only start out with 6 racers though when you load up a fresh save file. Captain Falcon, Dr. Stewart, Pico, and Samurai Goro all return in this game, and you get a couple newcomers as well to start off, Jody Summers and Mighty Gazelle, one of my personal favorites. You'll unlock more characters as you win each of the cups on different difficulties, or you could be cheap and just use a code, honestly. With the increase of the pool of drivers, some of these courses can feel pretty cramped. This usually happens in the beginning of a race when everyone is grouped together at the starting line. Generally after the first lap, the races are all spread out and it's easier to pass people. On the bright side though, you can now fight back against the other drivers if they get too close. By pressing the Z or R buttons twice, you can dive left or right respectively and inflict damage on another car. You can also do a spin attack as well, which is great for clearing out a bunch of cars that are bumping you. Do enough damage to an opponent and they're knocked out of that race. Let me tell you, it's so satisfying being able to destroy other vehicles in this game and getting that little jingle to go along with it. Doubly so if you kill a lot of cars at the same time. Feels amazing. It's even better if you're able to destroy your rival's car. This is usually the racer that's right by you in the standings, so knocking them out is a big deal. Speaking of big deals, the other important gameplay change comes with how you boost. In the first game, you got 1 boost at the end of each lap, and you're only able to hold 3 at a time. Here, once you finish lap 1, you can boost as many times as you please, as long as you have enough energy. Yeah, boosting in this game is now dependent on how much energy you have. Oh sure, you can immediately use a bunch of your boosts as soon as lap 2 begins, but if that course has a lot of sharp turns where you can hit corners, good luck surviving. This introduces a lot of risk and reward to each race. Do I use my boost to pass the guys in front of me right now? Should I save it for later? Do I have enough energy to boost at all? Is this the right time? Are there a lot of sharp corners coming? These are all questions that require some split-second decision making. This fundamentally changes how people race compared to the first game, and I think this change was for the better. I'll be honest, the way you boosted in the first game really didn't have a lot of use to me. It pretty much was only helpful on straightaways, and there are some races where I completely forgot about it and just didn't boost at all. The changes in the gameplay here make it not only important, but essential if you want to finish first in each circuit. There are some other gameplay changes here as well. Each car has 3 stats: boost, grip, and body. Body just tells you if you have a light or heavy car, boost tells you how powerful of a boost you have, and grip tells you how well the car handles. You can also min-max your car to have more speed or more acceleration before each race starts. Races are also a bit shorter now, with there only being 3 laps in a stage instead of 5 like the first game. Along with our regular Grand Prix and time trial modes, we also get some new modes to play along with. First is Death Race, where the goal is to destroy 29 other racers as fast as possible. It's alright. I'm sure it would be better if I had friends to play with like any other multiplayer mode, but I don't exactly have those on standby currently. The other new mode is Practice Mode. It's different from time trials where you can race around a course as many times as you like as long as the course has been unlocked. This is another mode that's just fine. It isn't too bad at simulating the conditions of a race, but honestly, the best way to practice, if you ask me, is just to actually race on the course you're struggling with in Grand Prix mode. I said previously that you unlock characters as you play throughout the game, but we also have a couple different circuits we can unlock. The Joker Cup is unlocked once you beat every other cup on standard difficulty, which shouldn't take too long. It's a pretty challenging cup too, so be aware of that. I mean, they have their own rendition of Rainbow Road that's just as deadly as the Mario Kart versions, if not more deadly. Once you beat every cup on expert difficulty, you'll get the X Cup. Here, every track is randomly generated, so you'll have no idea what each track contains in terms of stage hazards or track layout. It's pretty neat to see, but the novelty can kinda wear out fast. The complexity of these stages can kind of vary. Sometimes you'll get a bunch of zigzags, other times you'll get just circles. It really depends, but in all honesty, this kinda is whatever to me. Speaking of the courses, how have they changed from the Super Nintendo to the N64? Well, they've certainly gotten a lot more in depth. With the jump to 3D, more complicated designs could be made and new set pieces could be introduced. Some stuff works, like the new loops and half pipes. Other shit like the cylinders just suck. Granted, those cylinders only show up in like 2 courses, but I hate them either way. I get so disoriented when driving on them, and I usually end up falling off and losing a life. Some other hazards from the past game were also limited or removed. There are some stages with mines, but they don't show up too often, and hazards like the wind or magnets are completely gone, thank god. Most of the time, you're racing through these courses straight up with little interruptions, which I prefer. Does that make the game any easier? No, it does not. Thought the likes of the first game was challenging? You, my friend, have not seen this game just yet. I mean, even the normal difficulty can be pretty tough for a newcomer. It's not bad for me, but that's because I've been playing the game so much. And once you get past normal mode, oh man, good luck on expert mode. On my actual cartridge of this game, I still haven't completed all the cups on expert difficulty yet, and I played this game for a good amount of time. It is extremely hard to try and speed by the other racers while also trying not to bang on every wall or fall off the stage entirely. Finishing a course in first place is extremely challenging, let alone an entire circuit. The other races are relentless too. Don't be surprised if after the first lap you're still sitting in the bottom third of the pack, if not last place entirely. Mastering this game is a matter of practice, practice, and practice. This is a game that is very easy to learn and understand the basics of, but once you're asked to perform those skills at a high level, your hands might be cramping at the end of a cup from how tight you're holding the controller. Oh yeah, the N64 controller. You know, for all this controller's many flaws, I actually feel like this is the best controller to play the game with. There's something about the overly stiff joystick that just works in a way I don't understand why. Playing this game with a modern day controller isn't bad by any means, but if you played it with the N64 controller, you can kinda understand what I mean. In fact, for this review, I really did consider getting a USB N64 controller. I really did consider for like a split second just to see how it would feel, but I decided against it. I just used an Xbox controller. It just works too well for a controller with this design. Well, no matter what controller you use, you'll be in for a tough as nails experience. Even though it's a very hard game, I don't find it super unfair. There's stuff that annoys me or pisses me off, but most of the time when I fall off a stage or get blown up by another racer, I feel like it's because I made a mistake. Sometimes I get too risky playing the game and it ends up biting me in the ass. I mean, yeah, it's frustrating, but that's kind of the game you play. Also, good fucking luck on Master difficulty. This also unlocks once you beat every cup on Expert difficulty, and it's virtually impossible to finish first in any of the cups. There are some tricks that can help you out, but I'm not good enough for those, so I didn't try and do them for this review. This is for the truly elite F-Zero racer, so if you can win here, you deserve a medal. Just like the first game, our story with F-Zero X doesn't end with the console it was released on. In April of 2000, the F-Zero X expansion kit was released for yet another failed piece of Nintendo hardware, the Nintendo 64 DD. You know, thinking about it, this series really highlights some of Nintendo's weirdest and most obscure pieces of hardware. How odd. Well anyway, the N64 DD was an add-on for the N64 that expanded the console's storage using these proprietary discs and added internet connectivity through Nintendo's first ever internet service, RandNet. Just like the Satellaview before it, it was not successful. In fact, it was even less successful to the point where some consider it Nintendo's biggest failure. Only 10 games were ever released for the 64 DD, and only around 15,000 units were ever sold. Want to own this thing for yourself? Good luck with that, because being able to afford this thing will probably cost you at least one of your kidneys. With the extra storage space in these proprietary discs, there are some cool new features in the expansion kit. There are 2 new cups, the aptly named DD1 and DD2 cups, which offer up some new racing challenges. More interestingly, there's a track editor and a car creator here. Being able to create new tracks and cars and being able to save them directly to the disc was genuinely really cool. I didn't delve too deep into these features, but I'm sure you can get lost for hours creating a new absurd track or an overpowered vehicle to drive. There are actually some new more powerful cars for Captain Falcon, Samurai Goro, and Jody Summers for you to unlock with some crazy good stats, so try them out and see how insane they are. We also get some new additions to the soundtrack as well here, and I'll highlight a couple of my favorites. There's a really great rock version of Mario Kart 64's Rainbow Road here, and it sounds really good. It just fits the tone of this game so well. Also, the theme for the stage of Bigfoot sounds eerily similar to E1M1 from Dune, which might be why I like it so much. All these additions to the game are great, and I think this makes the expansion worth it. Unfortunately, every digital re-release of F-Zero X hasn't added any of the content from this. It's such a shame that not even the additional tracks can get added. Like, is it really that hard to do? I could maybe understand it being a pain to add the track editor or the car creator, but it can't be that difficult to add 12 new tracks. I hope one day, whether it's through a digital release on the Switch or a full-on remake, these expansion features eventually get added, even if it's just preservation's sake. They deserve to have some kind of modern day, love to them. F-Zero X is such a massive upgrade compared to the first F-Zero. They almost feel like two different game series, if I'm being honest. The sense of speed, the new gameplay changes, the soundtrack, they all added up to a game that still mostly holds up even to this day. It certainly looks aged nowadays, but honestly, what game from the N64 doesn't look aged in 2025? I love this game, and it's one of my favorite games of all time, so of course I'm going to give it a high recommendation. Even though it's pretty damn tough, if you stick with it for just a little bit, you'll be able to see how great this game really is. What I'm curious to see is how the next F-Zero game is, F-Zero GX. I haven't ever really played this game, but I've heard it's even better than F-Zero X, so I'm very excited to see how I like it and if this claim is even true, but that's for next time.